Okay.
I think because 206 was where it all started, but now it doesn't make sense anymore because we're not in Suite 206. Because 206.
You're echoing in my ear.
Yeah, no. Colin got it.
Okay. Fucking Colin.
But yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of changing it to something to do with like Make Time, like the Make Time podcast, something like that.
Oh, okay. I can get on board with that. I think that's a great idea, actually.
Yeah, man. Because then, like, basically what I talk about all the time with people is like their story and how they got to where they are. So
yeah, how they made the time for it.
Damn, Dillon, you're on point, dude.
I try to be sometimes. No, I'm with you fully. I'm full throttle in that kind of that movement, if you so to speak. Right now, like I get frustrated with people that don't make time, that give me fucking excuses.
Yes, that's exactly where my whole thing came from. Was like I have like an hour to 2 hours max a day of free time, like besides the weekends, and I still somehow like squeeze in time to run and do the things that I need to do. And whenever people ask me like, hey, so where do you find the time to run? I was like, oh, I just do it. And I'm like, you should run too. They're like, yeah, I really want to, but I just don't have time. And I constantly hear that. And it got to the point where it's like,
make time.
It's kind of offensive now.
Yeah, you make the time. You always have time. People complain to me, but then it's like they went to a birthday party or they went to happy hour or they watched, but they'll tell me how they watched like all of Westworld or some other show or the Ozarks. Yep. And I'm like, oh, you can sit and watch television for 8 hours.
Yes.
But you can't.
Yes.
You can't do anything else.
Either sit and watch television, scroll through social media for however long you're doing that for.
Yeah.
Play video games, go out to eat, do this, do that, sleep late.
Kind of one thing I like about the new, Apple's got to love the data they're getting now from their new update, because you can track what your screen time, if you're like if you're on productive apps or if you're on social media or if you're gaming. I hate to look at mine right now because I played a ton of PUBG Mobile last night.
Colin was making fun of you about that earlier.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, it's fun. I can play PUBG on my phone at home, lay on my couch.
Colin, do you still play PUBG?
Yeah. Every now and then.
Fortnite or PUBG?
PUBG.
More PUBG?
More PUBG, more WoW than either.
Dude, how come you don't invite me?
To PUBG?
Yeah.
Because I played WoW more than all of it.
Gotcha.
Is PUBG still really relevant?
No.
Damn.
I don't think so.
Damn.
I think it's dying. New Call of Duty's gonna win.
New Call of Duty? Are you into video games at all, Dillon?
Not really. I play PUBG because my brother plays it, and it's like an easy form for me and him to communicate. And like, instead of me calling and being like, "Hey, how's your day?" I can just like get on PUBG and then we can like, play a game and then discuss like our lives, I guess.
That's what I think is awesome about video games, and that's why I stay playing. I recently just started to play League of Legends again. Colin, we should play. Because, one, I'm a scrub and I need help.
I'm so mad, dude. You don't want to see that side of me. I don't want to see that side of me again, so I can't let it come out through you.
Does he get all competitive and nuts?
Colin might go psycho.
Yeah.
He might go psycho and just rage quit.
Are you that guy that like breaks your
It
television?
would be me saying like some of the worst things you can like humanly imagine.
Colin would just be toxic as hell to me.
I would be toxic.
Be like, quit, uninstall.
I wouldn't say it to you, but it would just cause so much like
stuff.
Stress. Yeah.
Unnecessary tension.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's why I like.
Just happened. Just logged you out of Twitch.
What's up?
We just logged you out of your Twitch account.
Oh Jesus.
So we're no longer live?
No, we're alive. I just can't monitor shit.
No.
Here, I got you, Colin.
Yeah, just text it to me. No. Okay.
I got it.
Oh, Miguel's
Don't worry.
secretive about his passwords.
Yeah, let me change cams real quick.
Do.
Wait, you have name one?
Oh, these are all.
Oh, relax. Man, I'm gonna have to put blinders on this entire thing so guests can't look over here.
Well, we're gonna see it later and then be like, what the fuck?
Well, yeah. What do you?
Oh, yeah.
What do we need a makeup?
I need. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, make me look not so fat.
No, impossible.
Can you make a makeup artist make me look not so fat?
Oh, that's why I wore the jacket.
No, man, but dude, you've been killing it on your diet.
Yeah.
I mean, my diet's not that good. I ate a pint of ice cream last night.
It's okay.
Everybody has weekdays. Joe Rogan said it's better to have those than like
No, it's true.
Tend to like fall off completely.
Yeah, as long as you're not eating a pint of ice cream for like a month straight.
Accurate.
Yeah. And I went to the gym yesterday and worked hard.
That's a win.
Yeah, but yeah, I was saying with video games, that's why I really like video games, because it's the only time that I really find to like hang out with my friends, kind of, because everybody's so busy, everybody has their own shit, and then so we all just log in, plug into the matrix, and just converse on the video games. You know what I mean? Just talk about life, like you said. That's how you talk to your brother and shit.
Yeah.
So I mean, for people that don't even know who you really are, because you've always been kept behind the scenes, you were Casey Neistat's studio manager after me,
Yes.
and I feel like you were the one that was tucked away the most.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I feel like during my time there, I feel like Casey definitely, I wouldn't say peaked. I don't know if that's the appropriate term, but I feel like that was the apex. Like that was like
Yeah, man.
that was the, you know, I don't know the right word I'm looking for, but
I think Apex was right.
I feel like that was when
Peak.
he was like peaking on social
On
media.
drugs.
And I feel like he was just, and then he had that to manage, and then Beam was in like when I came on. I think the week that I came on is when the discussions between CNN and Beam began, or roughly in that time frame. And so when I came on, then it was just, you know, the acquisition from CNN effectively.
Put the mic closer to you, Dylan. Sorry.
But then
you can move the mic.
But then it was more just like he was just busy, and then he was really focused on just making his video daily, and then trying to leverage that, and then trying to, you know, negotiate a huge deal, huge acquisition, right? And so yeah, I don't want to say I was tucked away, but I think compared to other previous and even current studio managers, I was less involved, if you will.
I remember the first day that I met you, Dylan, Casey was like, "Oh, Miguel, can you come upstairs?" I had no idea what was happening.
Oh yeah.
And I remember he was like, "Oh, this is Dylan. Show him around." Immediately, my heart was like, "Oh shit, I'm getting fired." No, but then after that, Casey sat me down and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have you fully move over to Beam and just put all your energy towards there," because I was managing Casey space and Beam space, and he wanted me to be fully onto Beam.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was just like, "Yeah, man, I'll just help you out in whatever way I can." And I remember like what was the first big project you had? Was it the snowboard, the Pokeballs, or the loft?
So he had me do the desk first.
Which desk?
The desks in 206.
Okay.
So like,
Shout out to Sweet 206.
shout out to the 206.
Like these.
So,
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
this.
so like these. It's like these. So he had me build those. That's when you showed me. That's when I met you. Saw the space. He had me come in, build those desks over the weekend. Because I was like, I met you on like a Friday or something.
Yeah.
And
Over
then-
the weekend. Fuck.
Had me do it over the weekend. I did it like on a Saturday. And then he called me on. I came in on Monday morning. He wasn't there yet. I got there super early. I got there like at 7:30 or something. Finished everything, like sanded them all down, made sure everything was like, made sure the space was clean,
It's proper.
And then he called me that afternoon and was like, "Can you come in?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I came in. He was like, "They look great. Everything looks great." And he's like, "I need you to make an outfit for me." And then it was the Pokemon shenanigans. And that was like arguably like the toughest like 14 hours of my life.
And how old are you, Dylan?
33 now.
Okay.
I was 31 then.
Okay. So let's rewind. Before you meet Casey, before you start working for him, how did you get into like photography? How'd you get into what was the pathway that led you to working for Casey Neistat?
I mean, that's a really long backstory.
We have time.
in short, basically, like, I don't know. I was never really a good student. So when I originally went to college, I just wasn't into it. And then I started bartending and working in service industry, and it's fun. It's easy, quick money. And then I found myself just kind of fucking doing nothing, just being an idiot.
How old are you?
I was between the ages of like 18 and say 22, 23.
Doing hooligan shit.
Just being an idiot, just like bartending and
Yeah.
being like thinking I'm cool. I've got some cash in my pocket, right? Idiot. And then I got kind of like, I was just to this point where I was like, I don't feel very fulfilled. I feel like there's something missing. So I very literally bought a map, like an atlas map. Like I went to Barnes and Noble, bought one of these stupid maps, tacked it up on my wall, bought a dart or like a set of darts. And then I like took a black like Sharpie and I blacked out countries I didn't want to go to. Some of them were pretty obvious. Like it was like Iraq, Afghanistan, like Central African Republic, like just like countries that had like conflict and turmoil. I was like, I don't want to visit there right now. And then I took a dart and I was like, the first country I land on, like over my shoulder, I'm going to go there. Like no matter what.
Over your shoulder? You weren't even going for
No, I just threw it over my shoulder back. It took me like...
Dude, that's hard to... I don't even know if I could do that.
It took me like 10 minutes of just like constant throwing. And just even getting to stick in the wall was like a challenge.
That's what I'm saying. I don't even think I could do that.
And then I hit the ocean. Like you forget that there's a lot of ocean.
You didn't black out the ocean?
There's a lot of water there. I just kept hitting the water and I was like, I don't want to go to South Pacific Ocean, just in nowhere.
So this is no exaggeration. You really did this.
I really did this. Yeah, okay. I really like fully did this. Just like throwing it over my shoulder, throwing it over my shoulder, throwing it over my shoulder. And then it hit Australia. And then I was like, okay, that's cool. And I just thought about it. And I got kind of scared. And I was like, I can't go to Australia. What the fuck? I don't have any money. I don't have any, like, I don't know anything about traveling. I can't go. So it kind of sat on the back burner for like 3 or 4 days. And then I went to work. And there was this girl. I remember this very well. Her name was Chris. And she was sitting on the other side of the bar drinking with her friend. And I told her, I was like, I really want to move to Australia. Like, I get this idea to move to Australia. She was like, oh, I used to live in Australia with my boyfriend. What we did is we just packed up our stuff and moved. I lived there illegally for like 2 years, worked as a server. It was great. I had all this time. She like gave me this whole story. And that's when I was like, it just like clicked.
She sold it.
She sold it to me. Sold it to me immediately. So I sold my car, sold everything I owned, bartended a little bit more, tried to save some like nuts, if you will. And then shortly thereafter, I bought a one-way ticket to Melbourne, Australia. Found out in the process. I was just planning to go illegally too. I was gonna.
How much money did you save up before you decided to go?
Oh, like nothing. Like I had like no money. I sold my car for like $900. I had this really shitty old like 1995 Honda Accord that I had bought from my brother, but I never paid him for it.
So you didn't buy it?
Yeah, I didn't buy it. Like my brother shipped it to me as well, which is even better. He had it shipped from New Mexico to Texas, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll pay you for it." And then years later, I'd never paid him for it.
I thought you were gonna say years later I paid him, but years later I never paid him.
Still haven't paid him for that car. I still owe him for that car actually. It was his wife's car actually. Wow, even better.
So how much would you say you had total?
I remember like almost the exact number. I had like $4,200.
That's it.
Yeah, and I bought a ticket one way. I initially thought I was going to just go illegally and just go on like a visitor, like a tourist visa.
Okay. And
then just try to bartend or do something under the table. I had no idea. I had no clue. I didn't do any research. I didn't do anything. I was just like, I'm just going. This is what it is. So
what year is this? Sorry.
This is 2009.
Okay.
At this point, I think 2009, 2010. It was 2010. But I was like, I'm going. This is it. And everyone said I was crazy. People at work made like a betting pool of when I would be back, like all kinds of stuff. And I found this really cheap ticket. It was like $600. And I flew from Austin to San Francisco to Auckland, New Zealand, Auckland to Melbourne. No return flight home, no anything. But I found a visa program that if at the time, I don't know if it's changed, but you could, if you're between the ages of 18 and 30, you could get a 1-year work holiday visa is what they called it. And it allowed you to work up to 6 months to supplement your vacation or your holiday. And effectively what happens is you just go to Australia and you work. and you can do all kinds of stuff. And if you're like, I think if you hold like a British passport, if you do agricultural work for like 90 days, they give you a year extension on that visa. So a lot of British people will do the 90 days of agricultural work, like picking fruit or whatever it may be, and then they can stay for 2 years. But it's like a reciprocal agreement, and the U.S. doesn't have that with them. So we just got the 1 year visa. I got the 1 year visa. Fly to Melbourne. I don't know anything. Don't know anything about Melbourne. I don't even know where I'm at. And then I just started networking my way around, and then picked up some odd jobs. Got a job working in like a pizza place that was like the worst. I worked there for like 4 days, and they were just like, the chef and the servers hated me.
Can't believe you just called him a chef.
Yeah, it was like a fancy place. It was
okay. It was in my mind. I just thought of like dollar pizza.
No. It was like nice. I mean, it was like
okay.
Yeah, it was like super nice,
okay.
like gourmet pizza.
Got it.
If you will.
Okay.
And like a pretty nice neighborhood of town. And the guy was just such a raging asshole, and even the servers were just total pricks. One of them, so I only worked there for like a week. And one of them every day would come in and would start criticizing me about American politics and all this stuff. And I was like, I don't understand what your issue is with me. Like, and how she hated Obama and how she hated George Bush and she hated just everything. She hated everything. She hated Americans. And I was like, this sucks. So I quit. Well, no, I didn't quit. What happened was, I did quit, but I was hanging out in the hostel that I was staying at with these guys. And I just we got wasted one night. We were drinking like boxed wine, and they talked about they were going to Sydney in the morning at like 6 a.m. And so I bought a ticket to Sydney with them, and I was like, "Yeah, fuck, I don't have anything holding me back here." And I remember this one girl was like, "But you got a job at where like the place was called like Wolf's Pizza or something." She's like, "You got a job at Wolf's, you can't just leave." And I was like, "Yeah, I can." And
you just left.
Yeah, I stayed up all night drinking. And I can't believe they even let me through security. I mean, all of us were just like hammered, wasted. Like I'm talking like falling over kind of a thing. Got on an airplane, flew to Sydney. I was borderline blackout. And we got there, and then I had a shift that day, and they were calling my cell phone.
Fuck that.
And I answered it, and they're like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm in Sydney. Sorry, bye." Hung up. And then when I was in Sydney, I started realizing that my dollar wasn't going as far, because at the time we were just post like financial crisis.
Yeah.
So the US dollar was almost 1 for 1 in Australia, which wasn't very good for me.
Okay.
And I remember I was like, fuck, I'm running out of money. Like Australia is not inexpensive. It's very expensive. And it's
I've heard that.
It's a super expensive place. And I was staying in this hostel in Sydney that was like, I was in a room of like 9 people, and I think I was paying like $60 a night or something. So it's still expensive.
Yeah. Right.
Like that's not cheap. So I was trying to find money. I was trying to like find work, trying to find a job. Ended up doing like a couple odd things. I was there for a few weeks, and I ended up doing like some construction work and like operated a jackhammer one night from like 10 to 6 in the morning. I've never hurt so bad in my entire life. And then there was this guy that I met in Melbourne, one of the original guys that I flew to Sydney with on our crazy intoxicated
blackout drunk flight.
The funny thing too is like there was like a group of us, but 2 of them didn't drink. Like they were like stone sober. Like they were Muslim and they didn't drink, and they were like, we don't drink.
Yeah.
But they would hang out with us, and they were like the coolest dudes I've ever met. And one of them was like, "Oh, I'm going to Brisbane. Do you want to meet me up there?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, let's go." And he was like I still stay in contact with him. His name's Abdul. He's like the nicest guy. He lives in London. And he went to Brisbane. So I was like, okay, screw this. So I bought a ticket to Brisbane. I'm swinging for the fences. I'm like, I have to find work in Brisbane, or it's over. I'm going home, and everyone at work.
Yeah, because money's being spent.
Money is being spent quickly, and I'm not being very responsible, because I'm like not eating ramen noodle. I'm like going out, right? And I'm also, going to clubs and drinking and being a moron.
This is what a lot of people want to do, by the way. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people want to do this.
Yeah. So now I'm getting like scared, right? Because I'm like, money is quickly evaporating. So then I get to Brisbane, and I remember I was sitting outside smoking cigarettes in this, like, I was there for like a few days, and I was asking everyone about trying to find work, trying to find anything. I was just trying to hustle my way through. And this guy, Alex, was like, hey, I know a guy that's looking to hire somebody. Do you want to come to work on Monday? And I was like, yeah, of course. What kind of work is it? And I remember I was like, what kind of work is it? Ah, fuck it, I don't care. Let's go. Like, I'll do it. And he was like, okay, we got to be up at 5 a.m. I was like, that's fine. And he was like, it's like building tents. And I had no idea what he meant. And I was like, okay, great. This is like on a Saturday night. I was like, great. Monday morning, 5 a.m. Let's do it. So we wake up, and then it's an hour commute from where our hostel was to this like warehouse.
In Brisbane?
Brisbane.
Got
Yeah,
it.
so we're in Brisbane. And it's like an hour commute. So we have to wake up. We have to be there at 6:30. And like the work day started at 6:30 for us. So I'd wake up at 5, and then we'd have to like walk to this bus station and then take a bus and then walk further, whatever. And we get there, and what it is it's like this event company that does like staging and marquee tents and chairs and everything. And what we were just grunts, like just raw grunts, and would build tents. And like you had depot days and you had like on-site days. And depot days were like we would have to like sort and organize carpet squares, right? Because they come in like the 3x3 squares or whatever. And to like sort those in different color, because when a lot of times when people are like tearing them down, they don't organize anything, right? So when they get to the depot, then we have to do it. And so it was like literally like 9 hours of just like sorting carpet squares or washing chairs or like cleaning vinyl like tents. That's the worst. And just organizing stuff. And then if you're on site, then you're actually building tents. And then I did this job for a little bit, for maybe like 2 months. And we would go on site, like we would drive, like people like all across the country would hire this company. And we went to this place called Nambour, which is up on the Sunshine Coast of Australia, which is like 2 or 3 hours north of Brisbane.
Okay.
And did this stint where we're there for like 9 days. And I remember that was like a really good character building test, because they put us in this like giant room with just these like 2-inch thick foam like shitty mattresses, and we would start work at 6 a.m. and when we would finish at like whenever, like 7-8 o'clock at night. And we would do like 9 days on, and we would building these huge marquee tents and stages and all this stuff. We'd do 9 days on, and then the event would happen, which would be like 3 days. I remember this was like the Home and Garden Expo for Queensland or something. It was like 3 days long, and then so we came back to Brisbane for those 3 days, and then we went back out, and it took like 4 days to break everything down. And then we would do jobs like that off and on. And it was great because when you're on site, you're not spending your money, and you're just saving money, and the food is paid for, everything, right? And in the meantime, during all of this, I met this girl. We started dating, sort of. I think she was reluctant to let anyone know that we were dating. But then she left to Darwin, which is like at the very northern tip of Australia. And I followed her out there. Then we started like dating and all this stuff.
And you followed her out there.
I followed her out there.
That's how it always, like, I always feel like the guy just always follows
I just followed her. Well, in the midst of all this, so she was bartending at the hostel that I was staying at. I quit the job making marquee tents because I found out we're actually being underpaid. So we were showing up, like when we were on site, we would start work at like 6:30 in the morning, and then finish at like 8 o'clock. And the owner was only paying us from 9 to 5.
Yikes!
Like a 9 to 5 day.
How much would you get paid for that, by the way?
Oh, not much. We were making like, I think it was like $16.50 an hour or something, or $17 an hour.
Okay.
Which in Australia was like the literal minimum wage.
Okay.
So we were making minimum wage. And then I found out he was taking $20 a day out from our pay to pay for food. So we weren't really getting food for free.
Yeah.
So I went and I confronted him, like at the depot, got in this huge argument, this huge fight. Told him all kinds of stupid shit. He got mad at me. I was like, fuck you, I quit. He's like, you can't quit, you're fired. All these other guys came around. They were obviously trying to threaten me. I caused this huge fuss, and I was like, fuck. I was like literally like screaming at this guy. I was like, fuck you, like, you know, I'm gonna go to I don't know who I said I was gonna go to.
A lot of threats going on.
A lot of like,
yeah,
whatever. I'm being kind of dumb. And he's like, whatever. But I remember him telling me this. He was like, you're nothing but a fucking backpacker. You're nothing but a stupid backpacker or stupid fucking backpacker. Like, literally, like, stupid fucking backpacker. No one's going to believe you because you're just an immigrant in my country. And I remember I was like, wow, you can go fuck yourself. And I made this huge fuss. But I had to catch a bus that was literally, like, right outside the depot. But the bus only came once an hour. And as I'm walking out of the depot to go to catch the bus comes and then leaves. And I was like, shit. And there's nowhere else around. Like, I am, like, way out of everywhere.
Fuck.
This is, like, pre-Uber, right? I can't just, like, get on my phone. At the time, I had this, like, little flip phone.
So you just had to, like, stand there.
I just had to stand there.
And just take that.
And then, like, a lot of these guys that were working there started taunting me and yelling. I was like, God damn it. Like, fucking hell. It's so embarrassing.
Okay, so you... the girl that was bartending.
So then
you followed her.
So what I ended up doing, because I needed the money, I ended up working in that same hostel.
Yeah.
And I became the overnight manager.
Okay.
So basically we would do check-ins or the overnight, we're like the night auditor, right?
Yeah.
Easy job. But we worked really long shifts. We would do, I think it was like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. No, it was like, I think it was, maybe it was even earlier. Maybe it was like 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. It was like 12-hour shifts. And we would do 4 shifts in a row, then you get 3 days off. And then 4 shifts, and then 3 days off. And 4 and 3, and whatever. But since we were like the night staff, we had like our own room that they put us in. Okay. And my girlfriend, or this girl I started dating, she was in there with her sister who also bartended there. And then some other friends of mine who I ended up becoming really good friends with. And it became like a little family. But then everyone kind of went to Darwin. And like literally like almost all of us went to Darwin. And I followed. Oh. And then started working in Darwin. Ended up doing the same job. Ended up working at a hostel being as like a night auditor, if you will. And in Darwin, where we worked at, because all the commercial flights came in at night primarily, so a majority of our check-ins were like at 2 a.m, like for the entire hostel, like even hotels in the area. Like the night auditor was like an actual like busy position. And also it was kind of like the street we were on was called Mitchell Street, which is kind of like their entertainment district, if you will. It's a small town, so there's like 4 bars, right? But everyone at night's like pissed drunk and fights, and I saw all kinds of crazy shit happen. Like really out of control stuff. You know those little like, you know when if you're like in a restaurant and you see the guys like stick the tickets, like the food tickets, by the food window? Mm-hmm. I saw a guy that worked at this like kebab shop across the street. That some guys were harassing him or something, and it got to a point where he broke, and he ripped that off the wall and started smacking a guy in the head with it, knocked the guy unconscious, and just kept hitting him in the head with it in the street. And it was just like a very normal Darwin kind of a night. It was just like, it was crazy. It was absolutely insane. So we did that job, and then I'll kind of speed up the process. I don't go into too much detail, but
I was gonna ask, where did you get into? So
photography came in. So I ended up moving to, we ended up traveling to like Indonesia. Lived in
with
this girl. So now me and this girl are like dating seriously. We like traveled to Indonesia. Went to England to visit her family for a while. Ended up living in New Zealand for a while. But then me and her, I broke up. Well, she broke up with me, and so the plan was I was going to come back to the States because my visa expired in New Zealand, and she broke up with me. We broke up. It's fine. I was in Texas, and I remember my friend that I had worked with in Brisbane and in Darwin got me a job in Thailand. Like I called him and I was like, "What are you doing in Thailand?" And he was like, selling timeshares.
And at this point, you're in Texas.
I'm in Texas.
You're back in Texas.
I'm back in Texas.
So how long was it until you came back to America?
This is like 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 years.
Do you know what the bet was at your old job?
3 months was the longest.
That they were saying you were going to come back.
3 months was the longest. Was the longest that it was going to be.
And you came back to America in 2.5 years.
2.5 years. So then I am in Texas, and then I end up having these like phone interviews. I get hired in Thailand. Go to Thailand to sell timeshares. But when I get there, it's not selling timeshares. I'm what they call an outside personal contact, which is I'm this guy on the street that like drives around in a scooter, and then I stop tourists, and I'm like, oh, hey, look, we're running a promotion. We're doing these like lottery things or whatever, and you scratch off a ticket, and if you win, then you win this grand prize. But But every fucking ticket has a grand prize, right? And the idea is we're just trying to get them back to the office to do a timeshare presentation. And every person that I would get to go back, I got paid $100, which doesn't seem like much, but when you're in Thailand, if you do 5 or 6 a day, right? Like you're making $500 a day in Thailand.
How many people would you pull in?
So I did that job for like 3 days, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, this is not okay.
Now you're a real estate agent, though.
So yeah. But then I was just like, oh, this is awful. I was having this like weird crisis because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life.
How old are you?
I'm like 27 at this point.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I have like clueless.
In Thailand.
So I end up back in Austin. I start going to photography school. And
what made you choose photography school?
My dad was always into photography. I was always into photography, and every year growing up, I always took art classes. Like I took like AP sculpting or AP sketching. I was always in the creative end of things when I was in academics or in school. And so I was like, I don't want to go back to school and study economics. So I wanted a couple like traveling with something else I liked. So I went to school to be a photographer. Unfortunately, again, I didn't really think through a lot of this and didn't realize that like the advent of the cell phone has eroded that industry greatly.
Yeah.
So I go to school. In the meantime, I end up meeting my wife, my now wife. We start dating. I had this whole idea. I was like, I want to go to Africa. I want to be like a conflict photographer.
That's intense, dude. A conflict photographer.
So I had it in my head. I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do like long-term stories. I want to like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. This is what I didn't do. But again, didn't really think through a lot of things. My wife and I get married, and then we go to Africa. Things do not work out very quickly. She doesn't like it there. It's stressful. The work really isn't there. Well, the work is there. It's just the circumstances weren't right, and the timing wasn't right. So then we end up spending like the next 6 months kind of traveling through like Kenya, Thailand, Cambodia, China, Japan.
Dude, so when you went to Africa, how much money did you have saved up?
So a little bit. Now at this point, we had saved up a little bit of money. My wife had some money.
Do you mind me asking what's a little bit, like, just because I know people would love to hear these numbers?
I don't really know the exact number, to be honest with you. I don't know. There was a bit.
Okay.
It was not 6 figures.
Okay.
It wasn't like there was like 6 figures in the bank.
Like 10 grand or something total.
More.
Okay.
There
More
was
than 10 grand
There was
saved
more
up.
than 10 grand. Yeah.
Okay.
There was
Between
definitely-
both of you.
Yeah, there was definitely more than 10 grand. Yeah,
Got it.
for sure. Yeah, and my wife was the breadwinner in this one, for sure.
Got it.
But we ended up traveling a lot. Then when we were in Thailand.
Back in Thailand.
So we're back in Thailand. This time I'm up north. I'm living in Chiang Mai, and we have an apartment, and we're discussing like what we want to do, all this stuff.
Did you graduate for
No.
Okay.
So I left again. Didn't think things fully through.
Got
I
it.
had I have like 3 classes to take. I'd get a degree, but I don't fucking care anymore. So I ended up, or we ended up deciding that we were going to move to Denver. We're going to move to Denver, Colorado.
Yo, you're everywhere, Dillon.
So we were like,
God damn.
We're going to move to Denver, Colorado. This is what's going to happen. We're going to move to Denver. In the back of my head, like photography is still very like present, and I'm taking photos every day, and I'm trying to get jobs that I can every day, like trying to build stories every day. I'm trying to hustle. I'd shot a bunch of weddings and events to make.
I hate weddings, dude.
Worst.
They are.
So we ended up traveling. We spent like 2 months in China, Japan, and then we flew back to Texas. And the idea was we're going to go to Texas, spend the holidays with our family, and then in January we're going to go to Colorado. So we actually flew into Colorado and then looked at apartments.
Okay.
Like we were serious. We're like, we're going to Colorado. Like we're going to live in Colorado. We're going to live in Denver. Hooray, Mile High. And so we ended up spending the holidays in Texas with our family. I don't know how. I think actually, I watched a video. I watched one of Casey's videos.
What year is this?
This is now 2015?
2015.
2016.
Okay.
So I watched this video, and Casey talked about, I think he did like a little, very typical Casey, this like hand-drawn infographic, if you will. And he was like, here's you, here's living in New York, and here's everything that's coming in between you, right? Like this giant hurdle to like move to New York. And he talked about how New York was like the promised land, and he was like, for him.
Yeah.
And ironically, like at that same time, I had a friend of mine mention that he was like, oh, if I could live in New York, I would totally live there. And it just like kind of clicked in my head. I was like, if I go to Denver and I continue pursuing photography, one of two things is going to happen. I'm going to end up shooting weddings and being miserable for the rest of my life, or I'm going to become a real estate agent in the suburbs and possibly hate myself. So I was able to swing it. My wife will tell you I manipulated the situation, but honestly, I definitely tried to sell it, that we should come to New York. And I was like, let's go to New York. Fuck it. Like, we got nothing to lose now. Like, let's just go full throttle. Like, this is it. I can't do this for the rest of my life. So this is like the last hard swing at things.
So that Casey video affected you?
100%. I started showing her Casey videos when we were in Japan.
What was the first video of his that you remember watching?
So he did this stupid video. Someone, I say stupid, it's not stupid. He did this video where, I don't know how it popped up on my feed, but it's like him and Candace, like in a hotel in Los Angeles. And there's like some French music playing in the background.
And like she's like on a treadmill or something with high heels or something. There's
no.
That's a different one.
He's just like...
It was with Ellen, I think.
It was with Owen. Okay.
I don't even know what was really going on, but I watched it and I remember I liked the music.
Yeah.
I was like, that song's kind of dope. And then I was just kind of like, oh, this is like a fun, kind of like a travel video. Like for me, it kind of sparked like, oh, it's like vacation. It's like traveling. He's like on an airplane and he's here and he's like drinking and he's got like, sorry if I'm saying too much, got this hot wife, like her hot girlfriend, whoever. I was like, this is kind of like, it's great. Like it was like visually appealing to me.
Yeah.
And then I ended up kind of like going down the rabbit hole of like watching further videos. I was like, oh, I kind of like this guy. Like this guy kind of speaks to me. And then I saw the whole thing about like coming to New York and like all these hurdles. And I've never been one to shy away from anything that's like a challenge or anything that people say you can't do. I've always just been like, people are like, oh, Dillon, you can't do that. I'm like, fuck you. And I just run straight into it. So I got a lot of pushback initially. Everyone's like, New York's really tough. New York's like a hard place. And I think that kind of fueled me. Like, I was like, I felt offended that people were doubting that I could live in New York. And I was like, screw you. So I really made this hard push. I really tried to sell it to my wife that we should live in New York. We should give it a shot. That our careers will, if they take off, it'll be exponential growth in New York comparison to most anywhere else. So we flew out here, looked for apartments, found an apartment, and then we packed up some stuff in Texas, and we drove a U-Haul with some new furniture that we bought and our dog, and we drove from Texas to New York. Ended up here. I started watching all of Casey's stuff, and then, but like kind of like passively. And then when I got here, I started really trying to hustle. Like I was just like, I was knocking on everybody's door to get any kind of work I could.
Like photo work? Or?
Photo work, all photo work, and ended up assisting for a bunch of photographers. Ended up shooting some stuff on my own. Shot some events. Did some commercial work. Assisted on like some shoots out in New Jersey for the Jets, doing like their media days.
Dope.
And then I ended up interviewing and getting shortlisted for a position to be the full-time team photographer for the Jets.
What?
Yeah. And that was kind of cool. That was kind of like a cool experience, like going through that process.
Yeah, definitely.
But at that exact moment when all of that was happening, that was like a really slow kind of dragging like process. And now again, I'm like not earning any income, and I'm like, or I'm earning like very erratic income, and I'm like, this is really stressful. And I was super pissed off one day, and Casey had put a video up about 206, how we got the studio space. He's like, oh, I got a new studio. I'm really excited about this. Whatever. So I emailed him. Like, I just like went to his contact page on like his website that it has like just one page and was like, contact me.
Yep.
So I just sent him an email, and my email was pretty straightforward. It was like, here's who I am. I saw this video of you and your wife in LA one time, and it sparked my interest. I think I wrote in the email, I could tell you that I think you're the greatest and that I'm great, but we both know that's bullshit. Things I'm good at, lifting heavy objects. like I was like, a list of my qualifications are like lifting heavy objects, like working long hours. Like,
They love that.
very just like, I remember I was just like, I don't care right now. Like, I had taken a bunch of no's on some jobs. Some guy had referred this like shoot for me for a lookbook for this fashion company.
Yeah.
And I bid for it, and I was bidding under what I thought I should. Like, I was like, God, I'm not going to make any money on this. And they came back at me and they were like, oh no, we'll pay you $200 for the entire thing, which was not even like close to where I was. And I thought I was like lowballing it. And I was like, I can't survive on a $200 budget.
No, what
like,
the fuck?
Get the fuck out of here. So I was just kind of angry. And then Casey immediately, like, I sent that email, and like 5 minutes later, I had serendipitous. Because I'm sure I know there's a ton of people that email him daily.
Tons. Tons.
And
that's crazy that you got through the email. I didn't know that.
I got through the email, and he just emailed me back, and his email was like really bizarre. It was like, can you build things? That was that was it. Just, can you build things? And I remember I was like, Casey Neistat just emailed me back, can you build things? And I was like, yes.
Was it all caps?
No, but I remember I was just like, that's so weird. Okay, what? Okay, yeah. I mean, yes, I can build things. And my dad worked in my dad owned a company where they build houses when I was growing up. So I was like used to being on job sites, and I was like, yeah, I can sort of build things. And he followed up this next email that was like, and I'm trying to be very formal. I'm like, dear Casey, yes, I am fluent in being, whatever. Best regards, Dillon. and he just like responds back with like misspellings and like no punctuation,
none,
all lowercase. And he's just like, what's the difference between AC fir and AC birch or something? Oof. And I happen to know it. I was like, well, sort of know it. And
Tell
I was
the
like,
people, Dylan, what's the difference?
I was like, well, are you talking about plywood? Like, and that's what I asked. And I was like, if you're talking about plywood, then like one side is finished, the other side's not, and fir and birch are different trees.
That's right. So on plywood, when it's AC, A is like the furniture grade. Yeah. Which is like on this table. It's like finished. It's like on this table. Like smooth.
There's no knots. There's no like.
Yeah, A is at the top and C is on the bottom. Yeah. And for tables, up to Casey Neistat standard it's 2 pieces of 3/4 AC fir. The A sides are facing outward and the C sides are facing inward.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's standard. AC fir is what we always use in that studio.
Yeah. And so I wrote back something like, I think you mean plywood, but I was kind of like question mark.
Yeah. And
I didn't really know how to approach. So I was like, dear Casey Neistat, I believe you are talking about plywood, question mark. And then he was just like, can you come in at 2? And it was like that same day. And I was like, holy shit. Like, Casey Neistat's like asking me to come in. Oh, no. That didn't happen. Sorry, I got that wrong. So then it just went blank. It was like radio silent. This is like on a Tuesday.
I was going to say, I was like, whoa. Yeah, I was going to say, that's crazy that he responded to you right away.
So this is what happened. It was like that happened like on a Tuesday. And then it just went like radio silent.
This sounds right.
I sent my response.
Yes.
Went radio silent. And I was like, damn it, I answered that incorrectly. So then I went this like whole Google search trying to find the difference between AC fir and AC. And I was like, I gave the right answer.
Meanwhile, the guy's just super busy and just
forgot about me. Yeah. So then I followed up like twice, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I followed up the following day, which was like Wednesday, and then nothing happened. And then Friday, I think, is when I like sent another email, like Friday morning, and I was trying to be like strategic about it, and like I sent it like right on the money at 8 a.m., thinking that he got to the office at 8 a.m. or something, right? And
those times he got there really early, actually.
Yeah. And then the idea was like, did it be like at the top of his inbox and he would see it first, right? And
damn, Dylan, I see you with your strategies. That's good, man. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, think ahead. So I ended up, I sent that email just being like, hey, just just wanted to follow up on below.
Yeah.
You know, I would greatly appreciate the dear Casey Neistat. I am just following up on below. I would greatly appreciate the opportunity. Blah blah blah. And then he was like, "Can you come in at 2?" And I was like, "Oh fuck!" And then I got all nervous. Like literally, I was like,
Of course.
"What do I
the
wear?
fuck?
What am I doing? I don't know."
He
And
doesn't give a fuck about any of that.
no, he doesn't care. Really doesn't care. So I showed up, and I remember showing up when I got there. Have you seen Kung Fu Panda?
The first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't really remember it.
So there's this scene where I don't know the panda's name, but Jack Black's character, whatever, is brought into like the temple or the hall of whatever.
Okay.
And there's all these like relics and old things from previous. I don't remember the movie, but he's like, I just remember he's like super excited. He's like, "Oh my god, this is this from whatever, and this is the scroll from whatever." And this, I remember like walking into Casey's studio, being like, "Holy shit, this is this, this is this." Like I was like, I know these things because I've been on the video tours in here.
Yeah.
And then it was like this huge realization that I was like, "Oh, this is kind of weird that I'm feeling that way."
Yeah,
But,
man.
Like
I'm
a grown ass man, and I'm feeling like a child. And then I met you. You reluctantly showed me how to take your job, and I could feel the tension.
Dude, but
I commented on it to my wife actually that day.
What did you say? What did you
I was
say?
like, "That was really weird. He introduced me to a guy that I think I might be replacing."
No, and I thought it was odd too. Like I said, I was like, "Oh shit, I'm getting fired."
It was super bizarre. I'm not even for me on my side. I was like, I don't know what's going on.
And then the next day, Casey broke it down to me. I was like, "Oh."
Yeah,
I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
no doubt."
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then then I did a Pokemon shoot with him.
So then, okay, so then now we're up to the part where you had to make the Pokemon Go sweater, because I remember this. I remember you like freaking out,
Dude, it was a tough day.
and I just remember you saying like, "Yo, where can I go to get this stitch?" So what you had to do was make that Pokemon Go. It was like the sweater of the character. It was like half red and half white.
Yeah, so it was like the Pokemon trainer. So Casey called me in. And was
Colin,
like,
can you grab a photo of that? Do you know what sweater we're talking about?
Say it again.
The Pokemon Go
if you
sweater.
type in like Casey Neistat Pokemon Go, there's a picture of him and Sean, like standing by the police car when we got pulled over, and like you'll see the outfit. I mean, oh, even that like the black. See that like the hoodie, the right one that's red and white. I had to make that. I can't believe they actually have that now.
So
Oh my god, I had to make that.
I
So,
remember you like
so
asking me like, "Yo, where can I
this isn't like
tell him
this
break,
is like
break down how you had to do this?"
3 in the afternoon.
Yes,
I'm sitting in
dude,
his office,
fuck.
and he like gets mad at me. He's like, "How do you get around the city?" And I was like, "The subway." And he was like, "You don't have a bike." Remember, he was like mad that I didn't have a bike. And I was like, "It's 100. It was literally too. It was 95 degrees that day. It was like one of the hottest days of the summer." And he was like, "How do you not have a bike?" And I'm like, "Oh, I just took the subway here. Like, it's New York. A lot of people take the subway."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well," he like texted you, I guess, quickly, to be like, "Get Dillon a bike."
Yeah.
So then he's
we
like,
have like 5 bikes.
Yeah. He's like, "Get Dillon a bike." So he like shows me what he needs. He's like, "I need you to like make this outfit, make the Pokemon Go sweater."
Yeah.
He's like, "I can get the leggings and the shoes." And then he's like, "I need you to make the logo for it, so it's a patch on there."
This is just when Pokemon Go just came out.
Just took off.
Yep.
And he was like, "I need you to make this." He's like, "Your best bet is to probably buy a red sweatshirt and a white sweatshirt and then have them stitched together. So here's $100 in cash.
$100.
Take this to like a tailor, a seamstress in Chinatown,
Yep.
and they'll sort it for you. And then here's my credit card, and I need you to make a bunch of Pokeballs, and then I need you to make a huge Pokeball that someone can be literally carried in." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I don't even know what Pokemon is. Like in my head, I'm like, what's a Pokeball? So I just realized I've been cussing a lot.
No, you're good. Wait, Colin, so is that playing online on our stream?
Yeah, nobody can hear it, but I was just playing a little video so they could see this.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so that sweater, I remember you.
That sweater and those balls. So I went to Paragon Sports, bought a bunch of small little soccer balls, like little kid soccer balls,
I remember this, dude.
and then I bought like red and white duct tape.
Your wife was helping you.
And my wife ended up helping me. So then I had to ride this bicycle around all over town and find a red and a white hoodie from what was the place called? American Apparel,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And ended up going to the American Apparel in Tribeca. They had them. Bought those. Went to the seamstress. Now it's like 5:30, 6 o'clock. Things are pushing. Casey's like, "Where you at? Where you at? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?" And I'm like, "Oh my god." And I go to the seamstress in Chinatown. I go to multiple seamstresses in Chinatown, and they're like, "Oh, we can have it ready for you by like tomorrow at 6 p.m." And it's $400.
Which is reasonable.
Yeah, and it's $400. And I was like, I got $100 in cash, or like I think Casey gave me like 140 in cash, and I was like, I have 140 in cash. I need this done by 9 a.m. tomorrow. And they like laughed me out of their shops. So then I got all scared, and I was like, I don't know what to do. So I went back to the studio. He was gone, and I didn't have your number, and I didn't have a buzzer to get back in the building, but I didn't know what to do with the bicycle. So I had this bike from Beam, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And literally, I've been riding around for like 3 hours now. It's hot, so hot outside. So I was like, okay, I'll just ride the bike home. So I rode the bike home, and then I was like nervous about taking the bike, and then I had all this stuff on me, and I was just freaking out. I was like, I don't know what to do. I got home, and I told my wife, I was like, I have an opportunity for a job, possibly, but I have to follow through. I have to finish this. I don't know what to do. So in a fit of like manic anxiety, I went to the Target in East Harlem and bought a sewing machine on Casey's card. And I was like, I'm going to sew this stupid thing together. Like, I took a textiles class in high school. I remember I sewed a pillow one time.
You could do this.
I can totally do this. And then I got home with the thing, and I was like, I don't even know how to thread a sewing machine. How am I going to make this happen?
That's when reality just fucking sets in, and then you start. It's like 9 o'clock at night.
It's like almost pushing 10, and I'm like freaking out. And
it's for a big video.
People are flying in.
As a production.
It's a whole thing.
Yep.
And I was like, I don't know what to do. And Casey's like, send pictures of updates. And I don't have anything. I have nothing. So I sent them some pictures of like the Pokeballs that I made from soccer balls. And then I bought this tote, and then I like duct taped it to make it look like a Pokeball, right? And I sent them those. And that kind of like, I was kind of able to hold them off on that.
Kept them at bay.
And I was like, you know what? I got a friend of mine that's a designer that I met this guy on Model Mayhem shooting some stuff.
Model Mayhem.
Right?
Fuck.
And then through him, I met this other guy who was the designer, and I ended up shooting an event for him, and then did like a video for him, and all like pro bono, right? All for free, because I was like,
yeah,
whatever. This is good for you and good for me. So I called him, and I was like, Elias, I'm in a pinch. I need you now. And he was, I probably shouldn't say his name because I'm going to say something that happened. But Jeffrey, was like, he was like,
nice. That was smooth.
This is good smooth. It's the save right there. He was like, I can't. I've been awake for over a day now. He'd been partying the night before.
Yes.
And hadn't slept. And I was like, okay. He's like, I'm about to fall asleep. And then I gave him like a quick rundown of what was happening.
Yeah.
And then he texts me. He's like, I feel bad for you because I feel like it's like a nightmare. And I was like, I am living in a nightmare right now. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I don't know if I'm going to fail or not. And I told him, I was like, I will pay you the 140 in cash, and I'll pay for your taxi to get to and from my apartment. Like, if you can come sew this together, right? And he came. He got to my apartment at like midnight. And he was like, champion. And he like took the two sweatshirts and blended them together, and then we made it like I bought like a JanSport backpack or something and ripped off the back logo, or Herschel, I can't remember. And then he made like the little logo for the Poke thing, like the Pokeball logo, Pokemon logo, stitched that on the backpack, stitched that on a sweatshirt, made the sweatshirt, and it was perfect because it was like imperfect. It wasn't like phenomenally great,
but on video it looked good.
It was very like aesthetically Casey.
Yeah.
And it was, we had to do it like in a quick time crunch. Casey's emailing me at like 1 a.m, and then I'm awake we don't finish until 4 or 4:30.
So you're just up with your friend,
just Jeffrey, getting all this together, and my wife's helping like tape these Pokeballs together.
Yeah, I remember that. I
all-
remember like she was there late.
late. We were up all night.
Yeah,
and
I remember
then
that
Casey
shit.
ends up texting me at like 5 a.m. So he's emailing me like at midnight or 1, and then he's texting me at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. I'm like, dude, this guy does not sleep.
Fucking madman.
Madman. And he's telling me that I need to rent a van and get a van and then get a couple other things. And I was like, okay. So I went to sleep at like 4:30 or 5 and woke back up at like 7 or 8 and had to go across town, get the van, got my wife to come with me. We drove the van to the studio. She's finishing touches, taping the balls and stuff together. And then Casey's like, I need you to like spray paint Pokeboard and Pika board on the boosted boards, and I need them in half an hour. And I was like,
In the Pokemon font.
in the Pokemon font. So I had to like freehand the Pokemon font. I had to like look up Pokemon font, which I didn't even know was a thing, on my phone, and then like freehand it on some like
I remember I remember helping you look for that font or something.
yeah, and then
It still looks good.
It does.
so then I had to like freehand it, cut it out on some like I don't know what I used, cardboard or something, and then spray paint it quickly.
Like you made a stencil.
I made a stencil, and then I had to spray paint it.
This is all within a half hour.
Yeah, it's all within like a half hour.
That's right.
And then Sean shows up.
Sean Duras.
Sean Duras shows up, and then Casey's there.
Oh, and you have to get the Pikachu outfit too.
No, they already had that. Casey had
Okay.
ordered that already.
Okay,
Casey had ordered that Pikachu outfit already. And then I thought my day was done. I was like, okay, like I'm gonna go home and sleep because I'm exhausted.
What time is it at this point?
Now it's like we're approaching like 11 or noon,
Okay.
and I was like, okay, my day's done. And I was so tired. And Casey's like, okay, Dillon, let's go. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I'm the driver for the day. And then we drove around. We ended up getting pulled over by the cops. I got a ticket. And the funny thing is, while we were getting the ticket, while I was getting the citation, the police officer asked to take selfies with Casey. And I was like, how is this? Like, just give us a warning.
Give me a break.
Just give me a break. You're taking selfies with the guy. Like literally, like these 2 police officers pulled us over because we were hanging outside of the van, like
Yeah.
cameras, the back door is open,
Yep.
it's a whole mess. And since I was a driver, I'm the one that gets in trouble. And the 2 police officers are mad at us, and then like their sergeant showed up, and he's like, "Oh, hey, my kids love you. You're Casey Neistat. Can I take a selfie?" And it was like, how bizarre. And then yeah, it worked. And then it just like transitioned into I was then running that annex studio. He was like, good work today, everything was great. And then
The annex studio being 206.
206.
This is
And-
before Sam, just for everybody listening. This is before Sam was there. This is before Patrick. This is the beginning of that studio.
yeah, and then it transitioned into me building it all out.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that too, because I remember you called me and you were like, hey, do you have any idea how to build a loft?
I had no idea.
And
what
then
I
I
was
was like, what? And you were like, yeah, Casey wants me to build a loft in 206 and I don't know how to do this. And I was like, me neither, man. And then we just started like kind of walking through it. I was like, all right, if anything, we should build the frame out.
dude, and it just
And then like start building through the middle. And it's just, I just remember going through it and how amateur we were. And Casey's just like, yeah, just make sure it's good.
yeah, he was just like, as long as it holds up. Basically.
That,
I mean, he would come in and inspect it and like make sure that I wasn't like,
yeah, of course.
doing anything stupid.
I remember the frame of that loft is held up to the wall with toggle bolts.
I mean, it's structurally probably not the most sound thing.
No, dude, but it's still there.
But
There's
well, you know, I didn't just use like one toggle bolt.
no.
Like,
There's like a bunch of toggle bolts in
like,
each.
There's a lot.
Yes, there is. There's a lot.
Uh,
And each toggle bolt holds up what, like 200 pounders?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
man.
there's, I mean, the thing kind of supports itself.
Exactly. I remember Casey was getting tons of shit
Dude, the
on the
comments,
YouTube video.
The comments on one of the videos is terrible.
Like-
There's like thousands of these just horrible comments, just saying like how I didn't know what I was doing, all this stuff. And I remember reading through some of them, and I was like, "Screw you guys! This is a great loft."
No, I remember. I think you were telling me like when you were finished, Casey was like just goes up there. He always does this shit. He's like oh, let me test something.
Oh,
And he just goes up there and just starts like stomping and like,
stomping. He's like jumping on it like he is trying to bring it down.
yes,
Uh,
yes, like on top
and,
of this loft that
like,
you just finished.
unflinchingly, unapologetically, just like,
Yep.
he does not like his own welfare. He's like, I don't care. Like, I want to make sure this thing is sturdy.
Yeah,
And
man.
in my mind, like, I had stood up on it earlier and I was like, I don't know if this is safe. Like, I was like nervous about it. And then he just like climbs up there and he's like stomping on it, like jumping up and
Yes.
down. And I was like, I remember my heart went in my throat. And then he got down. And he's like, okay, seems good.
And then just leaves.
And I was like, whew. Like, I still get nervous about that loft. I'm like waiting for it to come tumbling down with Patrick underneath.
Fuck.
And and
So real, it is.
And Casey was just jumping on it, and he's like, I remember he made some statement like, short of a Mack truck driving into it, we're good. And I was like, oh my god, this is gonna fall over. But it was fine. Like, it's still
Exactly.
It's
Still there.
still there. It's been
Yep.
been like a year and a half, and it's great.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that was a tough project.
Hell yeah, dude. You completely built that out. You
Yeah.
built out that whole.
By my lonesome.
Exactly.
I had no one to no support.
Damn, Dylan. I was your support,
You
bro.
were you're
What
like
do you
my
mean?
moral support. No, I mean, you
Moral
helped,
support.
but there were
Of
many days that I'd be
course.
there like on a Saturday,
No,
and I
of
was like trying to
course, of
lift
course,
things
of
up, and then
course. Yeah.
trying to lift like a 4x8,
Jesus Christ.
and then toggle bolt it into the wall by yourself.
Oh,
was
dude,
like,
that's a nightmare.
it's a nightmare. You know it all too well.
Of course. Just you saying like you did it all by your lonesome. I'm like, I get flashbacks of
Being alone.
renovating 201, completely renovating 201 by myself,
By yourself.
building everything out. I just remember like the toughest thing I did in 201 was on Casey's monitor wall.
Yeah.
So behind that, there's 3 full sheets of plywood against that wall.
Oh yeah.
So I put up from the floor. So sheets of plywood are 4x8.
Yeah.
So from the floor, 4 feet up, I just put that up. Second one, I'm lifting up by myself a whole sheet of 4x8
Yeah.
by myself. Put it up on the wall, drill that shit into the studs. So now that's an 8-foot tall wall. The third one, I get on that extending telescoping ladder,
It's so sketchy.
lean it on the wall, carry a 4x8 on that ladder by myself, put it up on the wall, and just drill that shit into studs.
Oh yeah.
And then when you were just saying by your lonesome, just get flashback.
You know, though, and I say it kind of like in this like joking manner or kind of concerned manner, but really it's like one of the greatest things that I've done, because
Yes.
one thing that Casey taught me in that moment, and even as like I was like, I'm like 30 at this point, right? And it was really good because he just like, it taught me a lot about the city, how to get things done,
Yep.
and just basically like he didn't care, just figure it out.
Yep.
And just figure it out, get it done. And it was like a really good learning experience for me. And
You'd be surprised what you can do.
yeah, very literally.
You'd
And
be really surprised, man.
and
Because
it
you'll
was-
doubt yourself. You'd be like, "There's no way I could get this done."
and that's why now I think I've kind of evolved this attitude where people, you know, like your whole make time, right?
Yeah.
Figure it out and make time.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
Stop making excuses.
Stop making excuses for shit.
Please. Stop complaining.
And I learned a lot from Casey in that regard of
Yep.
like always following through,
Yeah.
always completing a task. Even if you don't complete the task correctly, complete it.
Yeah.
Like, it's better to complete something than to leave it half done.
Dude.
Um,
That's. A lot of people always just give up, I feel like.
yeah, they don't complete anything.
And then they just leave things undone. And they just kind of like shrug it off, brush it under the carpet.
And so that had like a profound effect on my life, in a sense of like, yeah, you have to follow through with everything you're gonna do, and like in the little, and like even like in the smallest context, right? Like if you're gonna say you're gonna do something, you gotta do something. Like, or you just gotta be there. You gotta figure it out. You gotta make time.
Yeah, man. No, seriously.
And yeah, it was a good experience.
So, I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about it, but why did you end up leaving? Because out of all the assistants and studio managers after me, you were the only one to really just leave, like on your own accord.
So we had Ollie was working in the studio.
Yo, shout outs to Ollie. Nobody knows about Ollie.
I love Ollie.
Nobody knows
Ollie
about him.
He's like the coolest dude.
He was in 206.
Yeah, he was in 206 for a while.
Yeah, he was working on like a channel that never really launched.
Yeah,
Casey.
they had a side project.
Yeah, that never happened.
And Ollie was a part of that project. And Ollie was like one of the coolest dudes to work with. He was a really nice guy.
He is.
And so when Ollie left, when that project got shut down, I just had the space to myself. And then
I remember that, dude.
And then the CNN acquisition with Beam happened, and Casey was just 100% with that, which he should be, which is expected.
Yeah. I made it a point at that time to constantly visit you every day,
because there was just I was finding things to do, right? I mean, I was keeping up with like all the regular studio duties, but
you were trying to stay busy.
I was trying to stay busy. And then I mean, there was literal like weeks that would go by, like there'd be like 4 or 5 actual real days that would go by where I wouldn't speak to a single person besides you.
Exactly. That's why I made it a point to come up and like bring the mail that got like all the fan mail that would come to 370. Yeah. And I would go up to 206 and just like sit down and chat with you for like at least 20-30 minutes, and we would just shoot the shit and just be like, oh man, this is what's happening over here, this is stressful, I'm trying to build this, what are you trying to build out in the studio, what are you going to add over here, what do you think about this? And I remember I would make it a point because you were just by yourself.
I was just by myself. And then Sam came in the space, which is cool. I remember with Sam coming in, I was like, this is such a welcome thing for me. Like, I was so excited about it because I was like, there'll be some more social interaction. But Sam was still working at, is it Mashable?
The Verge?
Was he at Verge or Mashable? He was at Mashable. Mashable. Okay. Yeah, he was at Mashable. So he would finish work and then come to the studio. So we would intersect each other as I was leaving and he was coming in. Yeah. So I was still alone during the day. Sometimes he would get there slightly early, or I'd be there slightly later. Yeah. And we would have some interaction. But it became, I almost never saw Sam. Yeah. And so I got like really excited. I was like, yay, Sam. And I remember when Casey was talking to me about it, he's like, oh, be good. You'll have like, he understood. He knew what was going on. Yeah. But then it still just didn't, like, I didn't see him that much. And I remember I just wanted to, I saw Casey, I don't know what happened. I think there was just this like Casey making the deal at CNN and like hearing other people make deals and all these things happening, right? And there was just deals being made. And I remember I was like, I always kind of gravitated towards like deals, if you will, making things happen. Yeah. And I was thinking about all the times that I was happy. We're never like staying in a position long term or doing a task all that. It was like the process behind it. Like I enjoyed that hustle getting to Casey. And then I enjoyed that moment of becoming like Casey's studio manager. And then every job that I got, I never liked doing the job. I never liked like a photo shoot or shooting an event. I liked that hustle, getting in front of somebody to then talk to them, to then convince them to let me shoot their event or shoot their lookbook or whatever it may be. And so that's what I liked. And then I just saw an opportunity oddly enough, and I said that hated that I would do this, but I saw an opportunity to sell real estate here. And so photography, I kind of just felt like I went to school for photography for maybe reasons that weren't the best. It was just more or less like I wanted to keep traveling and not grow up. Yeah.
It's a romantic thing too, the whole...
Yeah, I had over-romanticized it.
Travel, photography, for sure. Working wherever you want, doing this, that, the other.
Yeah, for sure. For sure that happened. Yeah. And then it just became this thing where I just felt like I wasn't producing enough content. I wasn't doing things appropriately that I should. But I just kept feeling this pull towards like that process. Like I liked that process more. And I was like, if I'm going to do this process and if like deal making is what I like to happen, I should at least do something that's going to make more money. So I got my real estate license and then I left Casey.
And now you're selling real estate in New York City.
Now I sell real estate in New York City.
You went from trying to manipulate people in Thailand, tourists, to do a scratch off. For
I think it's
timeshares.
illegal as well. I think it's like illegal in town because they gave me the
Dylan,
cell
that
phone.
doesn't, that doesn't sound legit, dude.
No joke. So no joke. On like day one of training, like they gave me this little like burner cell phone. And,
Jesus
and they were
Christ.
like, if you get a call from this number, they already had like this number saved in there. Like if you get a call from this number,
Throw the phone away.
don't answer it. Take your shirt off because we had to wear these like these little like green polo shirts or whatever.
Oh, dude, that's
And it said like we were with like whatever resort.
that's code red.
They were like, take your shirt off immediately, throw it in the trash, go to a bar and start having drinks, or go do whatever you want. Take the rest of the day off, but immediately. And they pressed on it so hard. So what they were telling me is like effectively the police force from Bangkok would come down into Phuket and then kind of like crack some heads to kind of, because it's illegal. Timeshares I think are illegal in Thailand, or there's some process, there's something illegal about it. I don't know. And they were like, so I always had to wear an undershirt. And they always told me wear an undershirt that has like a graphic on it or something so it doesn't look so obvious. And if you have to take your shirt off, throw it in the trash, and just get away from it as quick as possible.
So you went from that to selling real estate in the most expensive city in the world, arguably one of the most expensive.
One of them, yeah. It's in top 10 for sure.
Yeah, I remember you showing me these apartments like down the street
Down the block, yeah.
that blew me away.
Yeah, they're literally like you can
Yeah.
like if you look out the window you can like see the building. Yeah.
No, it blew me away because I remember you were walking me through it and I was like, damn, how much is the rent here? And you were, what was it, 16 or 13?
So they varied. I think the one I showed you was like $14,000 a month.
Do you guys hear that? This is $14,000 a month and the whole building is rentals only. This isn't for a mortgage. This isn't a townhome.
Is it this building right here?
No, I mean it's
No.
on this block though.
It's like the next one.
It's like
Those people have a personal chef. I've watched them cook.
It's a
And,
few
like,
over.
We watch them have dinner in their living room every now and then. It's insane.
I mean,
It's
we're sitting in Tribeca now, right? It's one
Yeah.
of the most expensive neighborhoods in America.
14,000. I repeat that, $14,000 a month for rent.
And that's that's a very high number. Like,
I'm just emphasizing that you went from some illegal real estate hustling in Thailand to
I mean, those are very short lived, but yeah.
to where you are now, man. And like,
I have to credit though a lot of this transition is my wife really pressing me to follow through with things, to be a better person, and to like work harder, if you will. And that, coupled with my experience working for Casey,
Yep.
I think really aligned me to have better success in what I'm doing now. Because my wife keeps me honest, and then Casey kept me working hard. If that makes sense.
no, it does. You know how you were saying with Casey, like it made you really follow through with things,
Mhm.
and it just made you really want to work harder. I don't know what it is about him. I don't know if it's like, but it bleeds through his videos, and people get
Oh, yeah.
inspired by that shit.
For sure.
And it really, really affects people.
Yeah, without a doubt. And especially when you're working for them. And you're just in that environment, and you're surrounded by like-minded people. Everyone there's trying to hustle. Everyone's trying to make something.
I think what's really cool too is what you said is how what you really liked is the process.
Yeah, the process is what I like.
So seeing like, I've heard and read a lot of people like philosophers or whatnot say that it's never really about like the end goal,
no.
and like it sounds so cliche, but I'm sure people have heard it. It's more about like the journey, and that's basically what you're getting
Yeah,
at.
I mean, that's kind of, that is very kind of cliche.
Yeah,
but it is, it's this like, I'm trying to think of a way to explain it. Like, so I did a deal this year that was significant. I sold it. I represented somebody that was buying an apartment.
Yeah.
Very expensive apartment. And I remember I was nervous throughout the whole process.
Do you feel comfortable saying how much the apartment was?
It was just shy of $6 million.
Oof.
So, I mean, and in New York, that's not like a huge deal. I mean,
Still
last week, I know there's deals that are done here that are huge.
huge.
Humongous. A friend of mine recently, my boss actually, recently closed a deal for $24.5 million.
Crushing it.
Yeah, and he broke a record in that neighborhood for price per square foot. It's like
Damn.
$5,000 a square foot or something.
Breaking records out
Make
here.
on that, like 15%.
How much do what?
How much do like realtors take on something like that?
It varies. You know, your standard realtor commission is like 6%. Is kind of like the
6% though, but
That's
of 24 million.
yeah. And I don't know the percentage that he made,
yeah.
like because he was involved in that deal. And sometimes they're less, sometimes they're more, sometimes they're 2%,
Of course,
sometimes
it's
they're 4%.
but
like,
still, like that's.
it's all on the market.
Yeah.
And whatever's paying.
But sorry.
But yeah, I remember like, you know, closing on that deal. Like I remember like we went to closing on it. I get this huge commission check, and I remember thinking to myself, I was like, okay. Like I remember waking up, like I remember my mom. I remember my wife. Not my mom. God. I remember my wife when the check deposited into my account like a week later, whatever it was. My wife woke me up and like showed me the phone. She's like, it actually happened. Like that's, and it's a, you know, it's a significant, you know, pay bump, if you will.
Yeah, man.
And I remember I felt very like unsatisfied with it.
Yes.
Like I was like, okay. Like I remember like I was more anxious then than I was before it. Because then I was like, okay, this is over now.
Got it.
I have to move on to the next one. And
Got
I'm
it.
only as good as my next deal.
Got it.
And I remember like the following days, I had to actively try to make myself work harder because I didn't want to become complacent with something that happened in the past. And so I've actually tried to mentally block that out so that I don't think about it. And I'm not the guy that like peaked in high school, right?
Yeah.
That's that's one deal. That's
Yep.
a normal deal in New York. Tons of people do $5-6 million deals.
Keep it moving.
And I was like, I need to do another $6 million deal, or another,
right.
or a $10 million deal,
right.
or a $20 million deal. I need to like push, because it doesn't matter.
Nope.
And I didn't get aroused,
Yeah.
so to speak, from seeing, you know, X amount of dollars in my bank account one day. I got aroused like when we got our offer accepted. I got aroused that we were able to push someone else's offer off the table. You know, like
It's the process.
I got aroused when we like argued with the attorneys at the closing table. Like those were things that like, and I say aroused very literally, like it made me like feel like, whew.
You got moist.
I got moist inside. It made me feel excited. And it's this like process, right? Like,
Yeah.
And it's that process of like doing all of that gives me that like, I like that fight, so to speak.
See, and that's what I'm saying. Like it so there just has to be truth to that. Where it's not just a cliche.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where people say like, oh, it's not about your end point, it's the journey. And people say that a lot about students too, where when students graduate on graduation day, they're kind of like, oh shit, now what?
Yeah.
Like that's a very big thing.
Yeah. Graduation day, you don't remember, right? But you remember all the times before that. And you remember the moments that make you stronger.
Yeah.
And like living in the city definitely is tough, right? And like this journey of growth and like working for Casey and having to hustle my way through. And then like, you know, I'm on one of the top 10 teams in Manhattan now.
Do you ever tell your coworkers that you used to work for Casey Neistat?
Sometimes, but very in passing.
Did they get all like, oh shit?
No,
Casey Neistat?
no. I mean, no, because like some of my coworkers are very good friends with like a lot of very A-list celebrities.
Got it.
And so they're more or less like, well, leverage it, right? But I don't want to be that guy either. I don't want to be like calling Casey, being like, hey Casey. Do you know anyone looking to buy or sell any real estate? Like, I can come by and give you a free home estimate if you want. Like, I don't, like, you know, I don't want to be that guy. Like, it's like I've told Casey what I'm doing, and he knows that I'm there. And if he chooses to use me, great. But I don't want to be like, and yeah, I don't want to be that guy. I never want to be that guy. I never want to be that guy that's like knocking on your door, being like, I can give you a free home estimate, please. Like, you know, when you go out in the suburbs and you see
Sweaty. You don't want to be a sweaty boy.
well, yeah, you see the guy that's like his picture is on the bus stop or on a milk carton, and you're like, is Jim missing? Oh no, Jim's trying to sell me real estate. Why is he on milk? Right, like.
No.
Or if you're like, if you go to if you're like at a bar or whatever, and you go to like the urinal or like a restaurant, and you see like, and I'm like, really, I have to look at you while I'm taking a piss now?
That
like,
shit is corny.
It's corny. I mean, it works. Those guys are making money.
But
I
that
mean,
shit is corny.
I can't take away from those guys because I have a friend of mine in California that does it, and he makes a ton of money.
But that shit is corny.
But I'm just not that guy.
Yeah,
like,
man.
I'm not that guy that's like,
No, I get that.
yeah, I wanted to call and give you a free home estimate. Just can't do it. I like to kind of be approachable and like a normal person that can help you through the process. But with that said, it's a process. It's the process of like moving through things and getting them done, and that's what's it's satisfying. Getting them done is what's satisfying.
Because I mean, you could do the process and move through things, and if you don't get it done, that shit just sucks.
And the paycheck is nice, right? Because it puts food on your table and a roof over your head. Of course, like, you know.
Yeah, man, you're living in New York City.
I live in New York. I live in Manhattan.
I
live in Manhattan, which is great. A lot of people can't live in Manhattan.
Of course,
it's expensive here.
It's crazy expensive here.
Super expensive here. It's kind of actually like I question why I'm here sometimes. But I can't imagine living anywhere else now. Like, this is it. Like, Manhattan is like the promised land.
And this all comes back to Casey really influencing you and saying how New York City was the promised land for him.
Casey literally, in my mind, kind of saved my career.
See?
Because if I had not made that email and he not responded and given me that opportunity, then I wouldn't be where I am at today. Like, all the dots, you know, they may not align in this like linear sense, right? Like, they're not all going in one direction, but they all are connected some way or another.
Yeah. And
if I had not met Casey, I would not be sitting here, and I would not be in the office that I'm at now because of the way things worked out.
That's right. And also because of how hard you're willing to work.
Yeah.
You can't, like, you know, don't cut yourself short, because Casey definitely pushed it in the right direction, but then you like shoved it through the door.
Yeah, you have to be willing to shove things through the door too. And I like your phrase "make time" is like very, I think it's very true. Like
it's crazy how I feel like it's really been resonating with people too, because people that I see, like, that are my friends in my town, when they see me, they're like, "Yo, Miguel, dude, yo, make time, man, make time." And I'm like, "Yeah, hell yeah, make time." And they're like, "Yo, dude, I really love that shit. I love how, like, I look at my phone and I'm in bed and I'm kind of lazy, and I see you at like 11:30 at night running, and all, like, there's no music. I just see your feet moving. I see the time, and it just says make time, period."
You know, and there's a lot to be said about that. Like, there's a lot to be said about, like, you influencing other people and having a positive impact and making the time for that. And inadvertently, you've made the time to influence other people in a positive way.
Thank you.
Which is good.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah. You know, thinking of that, I want to give a shout out to one guy. This guy, I can't remember. I gotta look up his name. It's Luke something. You get this guy. Like, I met this guy in Thailand, and he is a beast. He's this Australian guy, and his name's Luke Richmond, and he does this one life, one chance adventures.
Luke Richmond, can you look him up on Instagram, Colin, and put that up?
I met him at this CrossFit competition that my wife was judging. My wife does a lot of CrossFit, and she was like helping out, like, with the competition.
CrossFit is tough, dude.
And
Luke Richmond? Is
that's him. So he does this thing. It's Olak or something, but it's one life, one chance. He, like, climbs mountains. He, like, holds this record. Him and, like, a team rowed a boat. Like, they, like, genuinely, like, rowed a boat from Portugal to Brazil.
What the fuck?
He's currently on this thing in India where he's, like, going from the Himalayas down to the South Pacific Ocean, or to the Indian Ocean, and he, like, base jumps and he does all this shit. But he talks about how you have one life, one chance.
Now we're going for a jump. Come along.
Yo, so now we're watching this guy's video on Instagram, and he's just base jumping. Shit.
Woo! It's all about fitness and health, and just like you have one life, you have one chance.
It's true, though.
And he's all about making the most of it. And so he does these, like, crazy adventures and rock climbs, and I'm not even I'm not the most fit person.
But you're getting there, man. Yo, I'm
trying.
You're getting there.
But, you know, I sent him an email one time after he rode across the Atlantic, and I'd met him. I sent him a photo that I had taken of him at the competition, and I was like, you know, I really mean, like, not to sound cheesy, but, like, this makes me want to get up and work harder in the day, like, because it makes me feel like you're doing this. Why can't? Well, I should be doing more.
What's his Instagram, Colin? What's it called? Just so I can spell it out. Luke. LUKOLOCADVENTURES. Luke Olak Adventures.
Yeah,
go check him out on Instagram. The guy's a legend too, and he was like the nicest guy when I met him. He's an absolute beast though. When you meet him, he's like alpha male at its like
Dude, he's like huge and he's like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 80s, right? He's just like this beast.
I was talking to somebody about this because I was talking to my friend on the bus ride home to Jersey. I've been thinking about, like, so when the whole make time thing happened, when like I just decided to do that on Instagram. You have to leave soon, right?
I have to leave in 2 minutes.
Okay. I've been thinking about time a lot, and I think the way humans look at time is flawed, man. I think that, like, everything, we tend to think that everything resets. Like, you know, there's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way to Sunday, and then next week it resets. Even the years, and then in January it resets. But to be honest, today's what? Saturday, October 6th, 2018.
You'll never get it back.
There will never be another Saturday that's October 6th, 2018 ever again.
Ever.
But people be like, oh, I'll just do it next Saturday. I'll just do it next week.
Yeah.
I'll just do it next month. There is no next month. There is no, like, people just think that it resets, but it really doesn't.
No. And it's yeah, you have today and that's it. And then tomorrow and then the next day, and you never get those days back.
Ever.
And those days can get ripped away from you real quick.
Easily.
Super quick.
Dylan, I don't want to hold you up. We're already past like 30 minutes. You're hard out. So
Okay.
Dylan, thank you so much for
Let's do this again. We should have coffee next time.
yeah, man, dude. And
I don't drink coffee, but
me neither. This is the first podcast in our new
space?
studio. Yeah, man.
this place is sick, dude. This is dope.
Dude, thank you so much for
I'm jealous of you guys.
thanks for taking the time out to hop on the podcast. We were trying to do this a while back, and then scheduling issues and
That's all right.
logistics.
Thank you for having me on here,
Dylan.
my man.
Thanks. Thanks for listening, guys. Normally we do questions at the end of the podcast on the people that are watching on Twitch, but Dylan has to dip.
Are there questions on Twitch?
Are there people even watching? I didn't even really hype this up. Or
There's a couple.
Oh shit, we actually have people
Not
watching.
really questions though.
okay, cool. I mean, yeah.
What are they saying? I'm curious about these.
A lot of stuff was coming through, like when you were telling your story, people were getting emotional and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They all like to hear it.
Oh.
But yeah, man, no, we'll get you back on when this really gets up and rolling. I didn't even really push this on social like that.
Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, man.
And definitely follow Luke. He's a beast and he's doing good work.
Again, that's Luke_Olak Adventures. Check him out on Instagram, guys.
He doesn't even know I'm shouting him out. He doesn't even know who I am. I'm giving him a shout out.
Shout outs to Luke.
Shout out to Luke, man. He's in India somewhere, I think, right now, adventuring.
Thanks for listening, guys.